Okay. Hi guys, welcome to our new episode of kAIron. Today we'll be discussing on the topics of slot, PyScript action, and prompt action. And myself Kushal, and this is Rachna here. Guys, are we audible? Yeah, thank you. So going forward, uh, we would like to add that following our previous live, we will be building our bot following that only. So moving forward, whatever additions whichever we make, we'll be adding to that bot, and at the end point of it, it would be a full-fledged bot with multiple functionalities. That was our idea, and yeah, let's log into the platform. Before logging into the platform, we would like to share one thing that we are now available on Discord. We were there earlier as well, but if you want any, if you have any doubts and you want to connect to us, you can just reach out to us through Discord. Uh, so So we'll connect whatever questions you might have. You can ask us here, and we'll respond to you as quick as possible. And not only this, if you have a question regarding some particular feature which was implemented in the video, you could ask us in the YouTube comments. We also have our Instagram handle and LinkedIn page as well, where you can connect and uh, ask us there as well. But going forward, Discord would be a one-on-one session, right? So it would be easy for you. Yeah, let's continue. So this was a earlier bot which was made where friends Mayank and Himanshu. Now, moving forward, we would like to add to them. We'll be discussing on slots today. Uh, yeah, that's not take over from here.
Yeah, so like our topic today is like we'll be explaining slots, PyScript action, and prompt action. So first we'll go with the slots. So yeah, like in the if you go to components page and under the forms, we have a slots. Slots, in general, if we want to define a slot, is like it's a temporary storage. Like we will store the values there, and in other like in the PyScript or utterance, we can use those values and as per our preference. As per our use cases, we can see. So let's like you can watch our other YouTube videos to get a more info about that, and then we'll start with adding a slot.
So as she said that as a small basic info only, slot is just your memory instance of the bot. So whenever you want to store some info of the user, or you want to store some responses which you get through API, or you want to query a database and get that data also, everything will be stored in the slots. So generally that is the use case of a slot, and we generally follow our Rasa framework. So Rasa has got a new upgradation this time from 2.x to 3.x. So following that, we are adding the slots as it has a new mechanism of being added. So we'll be discussing that.
Yeah. And like here we have a plus icon. If you click on that, this form will be opened. Here you will give the slot name. In our case, we are building a story where we'll take a input from the user name and phone number. So like I'm creating a slot called name, and I'm choosing it as a text. And like we'll explain the types of slots one by one. Like if we want to store the value, if that is number, then we'll select the number and it has a minimum value and maximum value. Like in example, let's say we have to take a input for a
Age.
age. So like age, we for that we'll create a slot name as age and type to number, and minimum maximum value will be like 0 to 100 we can give. So not only this case, like there are other use cases also. And categorical value.
So yeah, even there's one more field called initial value. Suppose even in for the number, suppose you can think it in this way as you want to purchase some clothes, and the user does not wants to fill in the data prior itself, and you want to make an initial default value. So for that, this initial value will be used, and you can fill it with size 38 maybe if they're looking for some pants or something. So max value and min value will be useful when this condition telling that the number should stay between this boundary range only. Yes, and for categorical, uh, for see now whenever you want to divide your input from the users into some categories. So as the name suggests, categorical. Suppose you want to say you want to split the uh, size of your clothes assume then small medium large extra large. So whatever in small and to medium there could be multiple sizes, but on a whole when we look into it we'll say small or medium. So based on that, moving forward in the flow, the choice of clothes might vary, uh, the price of clothes might vary. So this could change the fact that it is an important decision of the slot. So uh, generally whenever we use categorical we use this option called influence conversation. So it's not only limited to categorical, but generally because we use for categories only, we generally use this in that case as influence conversation. So what influence conversation does is, um, so when based on the value which is being filled in the slot, you want the flow to be changed. So whenever this is turned on, it means that uh, based on the value which is being filled inside the slot will determine the flow of the bot. So suppose say if the user has felt that his size is medium, then turning on influence conversation would actually affect the flow of the conversation, telling that okay, so since the user has selected medium, I have to follow a different flow that the bot will understand. But if the influence conversation is not turned on, the bot will just see it as just memory instance and it is being filled.
Yeah, like usually we'll use this in a multi-flow stories. So
So
yeah.
multi-flow in the sense like you want to have multiple options in a single flow. There we use that. Yeah, continue.
List is like as the name suggests, like we can store the user inputs in the list format. Like
Yeah. So when for a list type of slot, you can have multiple values stored in a list format, and it is useful in a case when you have multiple endpoints, and you want to store it in a single value. At that point, list will be useful.
yes, and boolean is like normal boolean, like true, false, like that. So here we can also give the initial, like if it is true, it will go in a separate flow, and if it is false, it will go in a different flow, like that. So then we have a text. So text is like any, it will take any like a text format input will be stored in that particular slot. So at that time we'll use as text as a type of slot. And any is like it's a varchar, like that. So like you can store anything with all combine these things. So like now name is a text, we are keeping it as a text, and we are saving it. So like as we are taking a name and a phone number, so I will create another slot has phone number. So like first I've created with this plus button, and we can create like this also, like typing a name and doing a shift enter. So my number will be like number, phone number will be a number. So like I'm selecting a number. So no, sorry. Like here, the phone number is a text. So, like as there's a 10-digit number, I'm selecting a text only.
So,
So I'm
like,
saving that.
although number is not an integer,
Yeah.
what it specifically means is it's a string. Whenever we use it moving forward, we will show it as a string, right? So that's why we used it as a text.
Yes. And let's go to a form. So like in the conversation page you can see the story and the form. So like we will be creating one form to get a user input from like name and number. So this is called a rasa form. It's specially will display a question and user will answer it, that will be stored and we can display the another question like that. So it will be a without any buttons or a drop down, we can use this one. So for now like we are giving this name, like we can give a user details like that. And slot mapping. So like there are two slot mapping, one is in the component page and the form page. But forms like slot mapping we usually use for a form when we're creating a form, because there are a few mappings to be done. Like for example you are uploading a like video or uploading a image, and that time there are options you can map it to the image or a video like slot, so that the input which is given by the user will make sure it is video only or audio only, or we can give the validation on that. So since we are just taking a like name and a phone number, I'm taking a name here slot which we have created initially, and we are clicking on add here. And here we are having a four options. So from is from entity, from intent, from text, and from intent trigger.
Yeah, like moving forward, I'll just add to what Rachna just said. So what slot mapping does is, there's this option called entity. So in the earlier RASA documentation, there was an issue telling that if the entity has the same name as the story or the slot which was being defined, what used to happen is, even though the slot was not being filled, but if the relevant intent which was being triggered, uh, sorry, the relative entity which was there in the intent, if it triggers, the slot will always be filled. Suppose I have one entity called name, and I have a slot name called name. So first going into the slot, I'll fill it. But what happens if there is another story in which it is an entity and it is already being triggered before going into that flow? So it will be filled with the entity. So to avoid this, what they did is, they completely merged all the slots with the slot mapping. So moving forward, whenever you are going to use a slot from now on, always use slot mappings to it. So slot mapping is a must whether you use it in a form or not. So each slot must have its slot mapping now. And for slot mapping, it will have four types. So first, what are the four types? Entity. So as just as I said, so entity extraction. So entity extraction is where you get the user place, user occupation. You know that user will enter his location, and the location are also fixed. Suppose say Bangalore, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Pune, or Chennai. So you know that people will be coming mostly coming from these areas only, and you want to capture that location. So if the user enters, hey kAIron, we are from Mumbai and we want to connect with you. So you want to capture that city. So at that point of time, you use this entity. So similarly, uh, for such cases only we use this entity extraction and slot mapping. Then from intent. So this will trigger it whenever an intent is triggered, slot will be filled. On that basis, we use this. And from text, so we have to manually enter the text, and on that basis, it will trigger the slot. So from when I say from intent, assume it this way. Suppose the user has done his payment and he want to have a hand cover or not. So you will ask him, well, do you want a hand cover or not? If he says yes, suppose there is an intent called yes, and if it triggers, only then we say that okay, he wants the handbag. And there's one more intent called no. If he clicks no, it will trigger the no intent, which means he does not want the carry bag. So we'll make a slot called it may be a boolean slot, and we'll link it here telling that if yes is triggered, give him back, and if no is triggered, do not give him back. On that basis, from intent is useful. Similarly, from text, whenever you want to enter something, whenever you want to take something which is entered by the user, we use from text. So if from text is used, the user has to deliberately enter what he wants to put into that system, and we can get it from there. From from trigger intent is, these are kind of like actions whichever, suppose he wants to we want to store what he gave in as the utterance, and we want to get the responses from the API, and we want to say if in that a particular response came, then a slot value should be changed. So for that use cases, we'll generally use this trigger intent.
Now we are taking a just name from the input, sorry, user. So we are using a text from text, and like as you see, this one is disabled because like one you have to add a slot mapping, then only from step details will be enabled. So like I'm clicking on save, so it got saved. If you open this, you can see the from step details were enabled, and here these are main things like what you can give here is you can give some validation. So in my case, what we can give is we can only allow the user to type ABCD to Z. So they no special characters, no numbers in that way. So that validation we can give that condition here, and as a bot reply invalid, like if it is invalid, like we'll just display another message. Kindly enter the valid name like that. So and the validation response, like if it valid, we can do the response. We can give the response for that also. So, but usually what we'll do, we'll first ask a question. So in my case, we'll just say enter name. It
One more thing, like whenever we add this validation, you need to remember that the bot will respond with the valid response or invalid response user, which is being
yeah
filled here. So what it does is, suppose you want to enter it, you want to take the BMI index of a person. So it can't be more than 30 and it can't be less than 18. So between this range, you want to take the user's BMI. So in this case, if the user, suppose by mistake he entered 45 and he wants to re-enter, then he'll go through this and he'll say that, okay, so I entered a wrong, okay, I entered a wrong BMI. So he'll get a one more chance to fill that based on this validation. And
yeah
whether to confirm it or not, you'll have this user response, valid user response and invalid user response. We can invalid user response, you can say, uh, thank you, your response has been saved. And in invalid, you can say that, sorry, please enter again. Hmm. And we can move forward. Yes.
So like a name slot is filled. Like similarly, we'll do for a number. Um, so again, we'll click here and we'll add a question. Like here, we'll say enter. Enter phone number, and like we'll save it. Shift enter, save. So we created a form. Let's go back and create a story. So like in last time, like we created a button and we are given the intent as connect with us. We are doing this flow only. So I'm copying the same intent so that we'll trigger the right intent. Um, Again, we are using a rule here. Uh, Make sure you give the proper story name, which is different from the like intent name, little bit different. So I'm adding the underscore and underscore here, and this here we'll add a like you one training phase, like connect with us like this, and you can give some other like a phrase example, so it will go do the classification form like that. And after this, I'm selecting a form. And after this, what we will do, we will display one PyScript message, like one message, like thank you for sharing that. And for that, we'll once brief about a PyScript. So, like as PyScript action name suggests, it's like we is using a Python library here. So, like there are few limitations. First, I will explain that. One thing is only the inbuilt Python script is like that only we can use. We can't use any other libraries. And another thing is like there is a bot response. So instead of a print, what you usually do in the Python, so here if you want to see what's the output of this, we'll use a bot response at the end. Only one time we can use it. And another thing is the Python script, if we are adding in the flow, it will not catch the input where before the input what we are given. We should always read the slot, and from that slot we have to write the functionalities and process it and display the answer according to our use case. And there are one option like copy sample code. Like if you want to copy the sample code and use it in another way, like you can do that. And bot response is for like if you want to display the message, so you have to enable it. If you don't want to display the message, you can disable the message. So yeah.
So what she meant was like general PyScript action is just an instance of Python, and as for the limitations she just said, uh, we can perform basic Python instances whichever you can do it on your IDEs, Python IDEs, but mm, we are just building it, so we do not have multiple library support for now. But whatever the normal uh, NumPy library, whichever it supports, we have that, and JSON library files also we support. So yes, so what it's doing right now is we are trying to get the slot value which is being filled. So the user entered some field values earlier. So say name and phone number. Now we are displaying that name and phone number here, telling that okay, so the user has entered and this is your user details. So to get that, as it is a slot, first we are getting the slot value. Slot dot get the same thing. Slot under slot square brackets and the slot name. We get the slot value and we are storing it in a variable. And what we are doing is we are storing it in a variable and we are displaying it to the user using the bot response variable. What bot response does is it will show you what the user has done or what you want to show to the user, whatever it could be. It depends on what you will give to the bot response as an input. So this is the convention of get accessing the slot in kAIron. Slot dot get or slot open bracket, square brackets and slot name. And you also have the convention for setting the slot as well. Slots, flower brackets, slot name, colon, value, flower bracket close. So we can not only like it's not just simply used for printing statements or giving it. You can even use it for if you look at it in a broader use case, you can even use it for using it as a dynamic body in an HTTP action. So what you could do is whenever you're trying to fire an API, so what you could do is you want to have suppose you want to have a dynamic body for it, and you could use Python for that. So just like how we could do that in a PyMongo library, so we don't give the import request library here. So what you could do is we have another action called HTTP action, and you can configure your API there, and you can have the dynamic body or dynamic request set there, and you can even access it from here. So it has multiple use cases. You can even use it in a way key. You have a separate database with you, and you want to query the database, and you can even use it in that way as well. You can even paginate, even the pagination of the API will also work in this case. Save it.
Yeah, like we can also have another use case also, like as we do the buttons and a drop down as in the utterance, we can do it in a Spice script with a JSON. And there are many other use cases. Few use cases we have already shown in our
Previous video.
previous YouTube lives. You can refer that. So as we created this flow, this is about a like PyScript. So we'll train the bot now, and meanwhile we will explain about a prompt action, which we are already added.
So when we say prompt action, it is the LLM component of our kAIron. So what we're basically doing is we're hitting the OpenAI API with the persona of the bot. So what you could do is, whenever you want to build a uh, LLM component to your bot, telling that it should be generative AI efficient, first you need to have a system context which defines its persona, which defines its basic duties, telling that what it should be doing. So just here, we just explain how you just need to build a basic prompt action. So as I just said, each of it has multiple contexts. So assume it this way: you are assigning some role to the bot, and you are telling it to perform it in similar way or a certain way. So see here, we are setting it. We are setting the person of the bot, telling that you are a kAIron chatbot. So the bot will assume that it's a kAIron chatbot, and what it should do, it should make the conversation in a friendly, easy to understand manner. So basically, we are setting the tone of the bot, and we are also adding the functionalities to the bot as well, telling that okay, craft a vibrant and engaging response as if embodying the kAIron chatbot persona, turning digital transformation into a party. So what it does is, mm, we are setting the tone and we are setting the persona of the bot, telling that it should behave in a particular manner. And we can also add multiple examples telling that okay, so if you are encountered with such an issue, respond in a particular way. Also, as I just said, the tone and how the response should be. Suppose say more emojis should be used, or some funky quotes should be used, a jokes might be used. Why we use this is, suppose we use this in a medical bot. We want it to be as empathetic as possible, and we want it to be very patient as well. Suppose you are using this in some e-commerce website. You want it to be very
Funny
quickie,
way.
funny, and you want it to help them get deep dive into their website. And suppose you want to use them in some law bot where everything needs to be very precise. So instead, the unless the user gives some proper input, you can't say how to move forward. So the persona depends on that, and the way the response should come. Suppose in a law bot, it should come in a bullet wise format, telling what it should do and how they should move forward in a step wise format. In an e-commerce bot, it should give multiple options of their sites, telling these are the multiple options, you can choose one of those. And in a medical bot, it should say, it should be very crisp, and it should be to the point, and it should be empathetic. So all of those should be covered here. Even languages, or whatever your way of input, everything depends here. It's not meant that you give everything you want in a single context. You can define multiple contexts and have multiple choices in them also.
Yeah, like system context is the main context you can say, and we can create some other context and link with it. So you should explain what is the link of the other context which we are giving it. Like here in this case, we are using some other context like link context. Like
So
sure.
yeah,
So we
we'll
are defining that here. So in the link context, we have a link, so you should pick that link while you are answering the particular user questions. So like that. If you
yeah.
have another other context also, you should define it in the system context, so the prompt will understand what other context is and it will link accordingly.
So like just like Archana just said, so there should be a link between the both contexts, right? So in system context only, at the end we provided saying that only display links which is provided in the link context. So the bot understands that okay, so this context is just used for my persona, and I'll follow these rules, and I'll use the link context to generate the responses which are being needed. So we will generate that, and
Yeah.
also the use cases which you just said for the examples that are also we defined here. Okay, then we'll say, if we suppose we'll just add a new context, add some new context. So we'll just show what are the different type of contexts which are there. If you want to add, see, now we added this text context. So see, so there are two type of context types. One is user and one is query. So user context is whatever the user will ask, and the bot will answer on top of the user. So whatever the user does, whatever the user asks also, the bot responds to this, and the prompt action also carries this one only. But when it is a query context type, what this does is it does not cater into telling that what the user has asked, or what the user will be asking, or how the flow is going. It will see that whenever a user puts a question, it okay, so the user has asked a question, so what can be performed on top of that question? Suppose, say a user is there and he's from Bangalore, and he says, I want to get in touch with kAIron. So he has not given a time, and he has not given what is his main objective as well, like whether it is an e-commerce or it is a SaaS type. So for that basis, when we say uh, query can be used telling that okay, give me further responses, or you can say if the user does not give any of this, take this as common and re-ask him, telling that okay, do you want to confirm here or not. Then source. So there can be multiple sources when we are hitting our LLM. So one could be static source. Static source in the sense like, it also, when using static source, it has a token limit of 4096 tokens. So it is a less, comparatively little less, but for a small use case, it could be more than enough. Like just we used for the link context here, which is a static use case. So where we update our YouTube, Discord, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter handles
Everything
links.
links here.
Yeah, and how they should be used also. So this is just a context of what the data is, and below is the part where we say how we should use the data above when the user asks a question.
Yeah.
So suppose take this for example. So if the user asks for any information about the platform, display the link accordingly, telling that okay. So if the user asks any question, I have to show only the links which are shown in the above static data. Do not hallucinate and add new points to it. So that is what link context is. Then for the source, then other part is slot. What we could do from slot is, as I just said, you got some response from an API, and you want to say that okay, so based on that response, you want the bot to respond in a different format. So at that point of time, you can use slot. Slot is also just a memory instance, as I just said. So you can use that as well instead of static one.
Yeah.
For action, so you want to say that whenever an action is triggered, I want this prompt to change its way of answering and how it is answering. So that time you can use this action. For the bot content, this is our vector database where you do not have this 4096 token limit count, and you can actually add your documented data, or your data whichever it is there, and you could put it into this bot content. It can even do the embeddings and vector database search,
Similarity
everything,
search. Yeah.
similarity search also. As far as history is concerned, like till what conversation level do the bot need to remember so that it can answer in a better format. Say you can have a history context of till past two conversations so that the bot remembers the past two conversations. That's it.
And then finally, if you want to tune the parameters, at the end we have an option. Let me So, like, there is a hyperparameter section, like, you can fine tune it to get a proper answer from the bot without any hallucination or something. So, like, yeah, this is a brief about bot. So, let's see, our bot is trained now. So, we'll just show one flow which we have built. Um, if we say hi, like this two was already built in the last time. So we built this flow. Like let's say like if we click on connect, so here we are giving like name, my name and the phone number, and then it will summarize and it will give the answer. Let's see. I think it didn't give a response. Let's see what's the error is.
Okay, what type JSON or the text type we didn't mention, right? That thing could have been a reason. Oh, we mentioned that. Okay.
Maybe the same variable it's used. Maybe that's why. So like whenever we are updating any action, so you don't need to train the bot. But if another case, like if you are displaying any other thing, you should display it. Let's try it once. We should hi, connect with this.
Try. I think. Oh yeah. Reset set. We didn't reset the slot, right? So that's why
That's
I
why
it
it
is.
is not. So that will be explaining in the next.
Okay, we'll just add a reset slot, then we'll try again and we'll look into this. Wait. Um, Save anything. Reset slot. So we use name and number, right? Yeah, we need to return the what?
So meanwhile, we'll show that LLM.
We'll go for the LLM component in the meanwhile. Yeah, give me, we can just ask for a give me Discord link or a Instagram handle. Anything will be working fine. Just a minute.
It didn't work.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe it is because we are training the bot like complete that training. Let's see.
It's triggering the wrong API. Okay, okay.
This issue might occur like when we use multiple like stories, different stories.
Wait, let's wait for
Let's
3 minutes.
wait for the bot to get trained and we'll check.
As the log's not getting updated. Just a minute.
No, it's not.
Just going to the center.
No, I never forgot it.
Okay, okay, wait.
Let's wait.
Yeah, wait a minute. Okay, let's wait. It's triggering a wrong input.
This might happen because like we are training a bot and parallel texting. So like while you're training, its best thing is don't do any updating.
Okay, let's wait for 1 minute 32 seconds. After it is done, we can just check it. Otherwise, we just have to add an NLU fallback to the intent condition, and we just have to rebuild it. That's it. Or we can just change the model configuration as well. That is also an option. Wait for 50 seconds. Still little bit. Wait. Yeah. Meanwhile, we can just go through what prompt action was actually built upon. There's one more case which we just didn't complete it. Excuse me. And that was the prompt action instruction. So suppose what prompt action instruction does is you got your response and it is perfectly fine as well. But you want the response to be segregated separately and want it to be in a list-wise format, or you wanted to show it with proper pronunciation and breaks in middle. So at that point of time, or you can even say that you should only respond in a particular language and you should do this. That time we'll use this prompt action instruction. And for the failure message, and if the prompt action fails and you want the user to uh, like refresh it and give it for you, you will use this failure message. When this dispatch response is turned on only, uh, whatever the LLM has, whatever the prompt action has processed, it will come out. Otherwise, it will not be shown on the chat client. As far as the slot configuration is concerned, you want to store whatever the LLM has given to you in a particular slot, then you will use this. As for the hyperparameters, these are the general hyperparameters which were we use in our OpenAI LLM. So for the temperature part, same thing of how much it should be of the same characters, sorry, same matter. And max tokens is the number of maximum tokens which can be particularly integrated in this. And for the model, it could be GPT 3.5 or GPT-4, Azure. You could use any of them. Mm. Top P is the top probability of what should be coming as it. Uh, Same things like presence penalties, like if a single word is repeated multiple times, how much it should not be there. Frequency penalties, like how many number of times it is getting repeated and how many times it should not get repeated. Same thing. Yeah, just like how we use in OpenAI LLM, same parameters are used here as well. Yeah, the bot training is almost done. Let's just check it. Let's try now. Okay, it is going into green. Um, is not replying in final message.
Is it not triggering the PyScript action?
Yeah, it's not in the PyScript.
Oh, like maybe because we have used a rule and a multi-flow, that's why. We can do one thing in the multi-flow where we can use a flag to convert this to rules and train it once again.
No, that doesn't put this in that. Wait, let's see it first.
Because of that.
Could be. Okay, bot response. Okay, okay. It is small thing only. I think now it will work for that. We'll just check it out. Wait, we'll just reset. Just reset. Hmm, try. Yeah, it has come. Same thing only. So just the bot response name has been changed, so that's why it has not been coming that.
Yeah. And like for the LLM, like if we give me a Discord link, so from the LLM we should get the answer.
I think it is going into the.
Great.
Let's figure that out and sort it as well. Just a moment. That is not coming in the logs. Wait. Yeah, it is going into
Bye.
by intent. Wait.
We can add our training phases.
No, we can just simply copy this and put it in NLU fallback as well.
Huh.
That can also be done.
Training phases there also that.
Sorry. So we had a few examples, and
After the training, we'll
let us just train it and just give it for it. In the chat history as well, we'll change the path. Yes, so it is already changed. It, okay, let's wait. So till 40 seconds. Or we could just show what the error was earlier in the PyScript action. It was a small mistake. Whenever we are using this bot response, this S was missed, so that's why it could the variable could not show. So what difference it made? Earlier we were not getting this output in the chat client. Now with the correct user with the correct name, we got the response in the client. Yeah, I think this
So
is done.
let's try LLM flow.
No, I don't think this still will give, but let's try.
Let's try it. Yeah.
Yeah, we got the link. So let's check it on. Click on check it on. Yeah, we got it. So
So this is a Discord link. If you want a LinkedIn, how to connect. Thank you.
yeah, it gave us a company, kAIron company link. Yeah,
So we have to sign up.
yeah, but we just wanted the link and we
Yeah.
just wanted to show that it was possible.
So yeah, like similarly, if you ask any
And the main difference between an LLM based bot and a normal bot is whenever, like in a normal bot, when we ask how to connect to LinkedIn, it just gives the link and it just leaves away. But for the prompt action, since we added some person on top of that, it will respond. It will respond in a way that it is custom made and it is tailored to each user without being previously built upon. And this one will vary based on the prompt which you give.
yeah, you can see the difference between first response and the second response. Yeah.
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 Yes.
So this is all about today. We explained about a slot, PyScript, and prompt action. So